Hey, welcome back to Daily Flash. I'm Mitch English. You know, there's more details coming out about music mogul P. Diddy, but what does that actually mean for what the trial of the century could actually turn out to be? Well, joining us right now to talk about the craziness surrounding the upcoming trial and what Hollywood is actually thinking is David Yontef. He's podcast host of Behind the Velvet Rope. David, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Mitch. How are you?
I'm super fantastic. Before I jump into all this stuff, can you guys give us a little details of what Behind the Velvet Rope is about, your podcast? What all the things that you kind of discuss?
Well, Behind the Velvet Rope is a podcast, and I cover stories like Diddy. I mean, we interview celebrities, we cover, the breaking news and pop culture. And, there's one thing about Hollywood, they certainly keep us on our toes, right?
And keep us busy, right? Yeah, you're 100%
Yes.
right. Absolutely. And, here's the thing. Hollywood is a place that manufactures fiction. So they almost, when anything comes out of Hollywood, they can kind of do the spin on it to present it as fiction. And, specifically talking about P. Diddy, what is Hollywood actually thinking about this situation?
Well, I think Hollywood, look, I mean, there was always people that are in the know. There was always this, hush hush about Diddy's parties. And, if you go and you leave at 9 p.m. or 11 p.m., it's one type of party. And if you stay after 11, it's another type of party. So I don't know if Hollywood is really so shocked at, this news. I think Hollywood really at this point is really thinking about themselves. I don't think anyone is really shocked or thinking about Diddy. I think it's more like, we have this list and every day we hear this name and that name, and who knows if any of it is necessarily true. But I think Hollywood is more focused on themselves at this point, just to kind of see, is their name going to come out and be mentioned in any of this?
So you're telling me celebrities are thinking about themselves first?
Isn't this a shock? Isn't this a shock? But yes, I think so. I think isn't it so funny in Hollywood? Everyone's your best friend until, they're not, right? So I think that's where we are. I think, there's a few people, and I know Diddy's mother just spoke out, of course, and has said, her son is not a monster. But I think everyone else is, yes, waiting to see what's going to be revealed.
And I guess if anybody wants to compare this to anything, I think of Epstein and the political power, obviously, that kept people's names from getting involved, and then they had alibis and that sort of thing. Do you think is it fair to make that comparison between what happened with that scandal and with P. Diddy as well?
I do. I really think you could even compare it to something like even Heidi Fleiss. It's much different, but I do think Epstein, Heidi Fleiss, everyone's just thinking, am I going to be on this list and how do I get out of this? But I think Epstein is a great comparison.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you think it would be safe right now for if they went to a P. Diddy party, to come out and say, hey, I went to P. Diddy, I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything at all. Kind of get ahead of it. And if that's the case, why are there so many that it seems like they're being pretty silent about all this? Why do you think they're doing that?
People are being silent. Look, I always think, because, you're seeing all these videos now and even like innocent, talk show interviews. And I really don't think that's fair, because things now, of course, everyone's, hindsight's 2020, right? So everyone's taking everything out of context. I think everyone's being silent for two reasons. One, I think anything you say can and will be possibly used against you. And let's just not forget, this is a group of people with a lot of money. So yeah. I think if you were there at more than one party or two parties, you have called your legal counsel, you're being told, not to say anything, just sit back and wait. And, people panic. Like, isn't that how a lot of criminals get caught with a lot of things? Like, you panic and you reveal the truth, that if you just sat back and let it play out, perhaps it could have bypassed you.
Well, we also talk about payoffs that celebrities are actually quietly paying off some of the victims so that they will be quiet, and that's according to attorneys as well. Do you think that's really happening? Do you think that, look, money will keep me quiet, and maybe they're going after them that way? Are you hearing any sort of that news coming out?
You are starting to hear this. Yes. Listen, being in this industry. I'm a little bit on the cynical side, so I do think that there are these conversations. They're very tricky conversations though, because you really got, one false move. You're certainly not going to put anything in writing. It could almost make your situation worse, but I have been hearing that there are these talks and, with money and paying certain victims off, or at least the stuff is starting. Whether any money has traded place yet, I think it's too early, but I do believe that those conversations have kind of started.
And do you feel that these, once it comes down, this will actually take down Hollywood? We are in a post-Me Too world now.
We are in a post-Me Too world, but look, Me Too has changed the industry and we've put certain policies and procedures into place, but I don't think it will take down the industry. I just think that, Hollywood doesn't miss a beat. Not really a fair comparison, but what about the global pandemic of 2020?
Yeah.
We all said, how are we? And the next thing you know, everyone's doing a talk show and there's Zoom and the connection is spotty. So, I think Hollywood doesn't miss a beat. And I think if there's money to be made, Hollywood's going to keep going.
I think you're right with that because people forget. And, I kind of think of like Kevin Spacey, and he's starting to get more work again, after his controversy as well. So it's interesting to see that sort of thing. How do we really determine, what is real out of this or just fiction? Because Hollywood can build that and make things bigger than it actually is.
I think that's a good comparison too. You think back in the day, Mel Gibson, remember we were going to cancel Mel Gibson. So I think, we just have to sit back and wait. I do think there's a lot of, it is Hollywood, right? So I think the story gets embellished and, Diddy is such a public figure. So I just think that we just need to sit back and wait and kind of don't believe everything you hear or read until it's real.
All righty. And then real quick, in Hollywood, can we still buy baby oil? Is it available? I need to know.
It is still available.
He didn't buy all of it.
Out there.
All right. Dave, I love having you on, man. I appreciate it. Behind the Velvet Rope is the podcast. And if you want to get the latest on P. Diddy, you can check out our website. We'll have links, of course, at dailyflashshow.com. Stick around. Today's trends, tomorrow's talk, right here on Daily Flash.